beep, and we're going to go over how to put this whole exercise together. So in part one, we went over how to teach the backup cue, how to teach your horse to stop and back up in response to pressure from the stick and from our body position. In part two, we went a step further and we taught our horse how to come forward from the gas pedal, basically from the point of the hip by pointing with the dressage whip and asking the horse to come forward in response to that pressure. Now it's time to put it all together. If you remember in part one and part two, we were walking backwards when we first started to ask the horse to back up or come forward. Now obviously we have to be able to walk forward to make the cue useful in everyday life. So when we're leading our horse to the pasture, when we're leading our horse to turn out, or even if we're asking our horse to come in and out of a new wash stall, a stall, a gate, this even leads into our trailer loading. So all of these cues are extremely useful, and we'll be able to use these cues at any point in time when we need to ask our horse to back up or come forward in response to pressure from our body or from the stick. So now I've set up, you'll see out here in the arena, I have 4 cones. You can do this if you'd like, or you can just practice asking your horse to come forward and back up. I've done this for the sake of space so that you can see how we're going to be asking Beep to come forward and back up, and how we're going to be asking with body position so that we can set him up to win with this exercise. So what I'm going to start by doing is I would like to start by keeping a nice space between the clip and my loop. And I'm going to start now by facing my body forward. Okay, I'm still going to ask Beep to keep his head and neck in between his 2 front feet. And another thing, Beep loves hugs, so he likes to come into my space and ask me for affection, and that's just fine, but it always has to be on my terms. So if he comes in here on his own, then I'm just going to politely push him back out, and when I'm ready, then I'll tell him to come back in here and I'll give him a nice hug. So remember to keep the boundaries with your horse so that they understand where those boundaries are. They're not allowed to choose that section of this training. So we're going to start by asking Beep to come forward. The way that I'm going to translate this to him is now I'm going to keep my loops of the lead rope in my right hand. I'm going to put the dressage whip in my left hand. This is separate from how we've done it before. I'm still going to have our line from his nose to my shoulder. And now I'm going to start this cue by looking over my left shoulder, holding up the stick. If he does not move forward, I'm going to begin to tap. I'm going to start to walk around this circle. So we'll start by just making a circle, and every time Beep gets behind the line of our imaginary shoulder to nose line, I'm going to respond by looking over my left shoulder, holding up the stick, and asking him to come forward. Now, anytime Beep starts to slow down on his own, you'll see me look, hold up the stick, and ask him to come forward. One of the biggest things that I see when everybody starts this exercise is they'll start asking by looking, pointing, tapping. The horse starts to come forward, and then they immediately start to swing the whip back and forth like this. And then they wonder why the horse is running past them. Remember, you taught your horse to come forward in response to this cue. If your whip swings, your horse is going to start running past you. So make sure that you don't burn out your whip cue and that you drag the end of the stick on the ground so that it's out of sight, out of mind for the horse. Okay, you'll see that Beep's keeping a nice pace with me. He's keeping up with our walk. And if he starts to straggle behind, okay, so if his nose starts to get behind that imaginary line, I'm going to respond by asking him to speed up. Now you can see he overshot his boundary right there. So if the horse responds by overshooting their space. So in other words, I'll set him up here, and he's ahead of me. I'm going to immediately respond by looking and pointing until he backs up 2 steps. So the next set of exercise parts of this cue are we're going to look over our left shoulder, hold up the stick, he's going to walk forward. Now, at the purple cone, I am going to stop my body, look at his chest, bring the whip out, point at him. He should respond by backing up 2 steps. I'm going to praise him. I'm going to face forward once again. No, you back up all the way. Good. I'm going to wait until he's even with my shoulder. Your nose needs to be on your line. I'm going to look over my left shoulder, point, tap. He's going to respond by walking forward. Once he's even with my shoulder, I'm going to respond by stopping at the blue cone. pointing, he should back up 2 steps, and if he doesn't, I'm going to immediately tap and tell him to back up. Now I'm going to face forward, look over my left shoulder, point, tap. He needs to be even with my line from nose to shoulder. So what you can do with this exercise is you can start stopping at each cone. Practice the back up, practice taking your stick away, praise the horse, face forward, turn, look, point, and that should start to be all that you need. So eventually, the horse will start backing from your body position. And you can see here, he's out of my space. I'm gonna turn forward, he's back. He's going to start walking. I'm going to get to the next cone. I'm gonna stop and look at his chest. He should immediately back up 2 steps in response to that. And if he doesn't, I will remind him. Now, the next set of cues that you're going to start to teach the horse is to speed up their feet or slow down their feet. So, we as the handler decide how fast or slow the horse walks. One of the other mistakes that I see commonly made is the owner will be walking at a snail's pace, sort of like this, because the horse is hardly walking. And they'll say, well, they're doing great. He's keeping up with me. Okay? No, you pick the speed. So, in other words, if you are walking at this pace and Beep is way behind you back here, that's the gas pedal. So you want to make sure that you keep stepping on that gas pedal, basically to speed the horse up so that they are even with you. Okay? If you walk fast, I'm going to keep telling Beep that he needs to speed up in response to that pressure. He needs to get up here and walk even next to my shoulder. And if he doesn't, I'm going to keep asking him to do so. On the contrary, if we decide to walk extremely slow, he needs to stay at the line of my shoulder. So if we're walking slow just like this, Beep needs to walk at the speed that I'm walking and not be disrespectful and pass my shoulder. So you can see it becomes extremely useful when you want to speed your horse up or slow your horse down without ever adding pressure to the lead rope. In other words, not going like this. Come, slow. Okay? That method works, of course, but you're going to end up with your horse running through the pressure eventually. So I would rather have my horse understand where the boundary is and the line that I've drawn and have him be respectful of it. One of the things that you'll see me doing as I'm standing here with you is I've put my thumb in my pocket and I have a nice loop in the rope. Once your horse understands the boundaries of where your line is from shoulder to nose, then you can start asking the horse for almost no contact leading, to the point where you don't even feel your horse on the end of the lead rope. This turns into a really cool exercise, and we'll turn around and go this way, because it's going to really make it so nice to be able to walk around and have that feel of having almost no horse on the end of your lead. So you can see that Beep is being really respectful of where I'm walking and keeping up with my shoulder. So from 2 very simple cues, it doesn't take long at all to get your horse to a position where they're really polite leading. So if you just take the time to teach the backup cue and the go forward cue, you'll have a horse that's extremely respectful of your space and of anybody who leads or handles them. So I hope this lesson was extremely helpful for you. And what I'd like to do is I'd like to teach you how to take this lesson to a gate or a turnout pen and start to teach how you can make your horse more respectful in those situations. So once again, I thank you for watching. Make sure to go back to part 2 and part 1 to see the previous parts of the exercise if you haven't watched it already. And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm really having a great time doing all these video tips for all of you, and I'd love to hear from you. If you'd like to send me an email, be sure to contact me at tarajones7@yahoo.com, or you can visit my website at tarajonestraining.com. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I hope you have a great day, and thanks, Beep, for coming into this video and showing us how fabulous you are. So once again, I'm Tara Jones from Peaceful Solutions with my buddy Beep, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.